Dunbarton Board of Selectmen meeting to order for March 24th. All three selectmen are present. Administrators present. We have the chief of police present, road agent is present, and recording for the citizens of Dunbar is Mr. Leo Martel. Thank you, Leo.
Don't forget Linda.
So Linda Nickerson, the upper row. Thank you, Linda, if you hear me. I'm sure you will. Okay, gentlemen, we have some old business to start with.
I'll make a motion for the March 17th regular meeting minutes as amended.
I second.
Any discussion on those minutes, gentlemen?
No, good job.
All in favor?
Aye. Justin, you wanna do the first non-public?
I make a motion to approve the 8:25 PM non-public minutes.
I'll second this motion.
Discussion, I just wanna point out these are not sealed. Any other discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. I'll make a motion for the 9:08 non-public meeting minutes of March 17th.
I second.
And
Again, these are not to be, sealed, these are open. Any further discussion on these minutes, gentlemen?
just wanna make sure that, let the people know there was no vote taken at either of these non-publics.
That's correct. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And you just- Signature.
Table's got a nice black on it. Good for sliding.
Where's my agenda?
Do you need
Public
one?
comment to start, Mike.
Open up for public comment now. There you go.
Dave needs to do that one.
Chief, you're on the agenda? Sir, you're on the agenda. If you have public comment other than what the agenda is.
Well, I got some new business, you want me to wait till my turn and do it?
Yes, do it, if it's road agent related, when you come to new business, yes.
With something to do with the highway garage,
That's close enough.
okay. That's what I'm calling.
Okay, now,
I'll
close.
cover it then.
Okay. We have a tendency, sometimes, as we go forward, we have town officials who come in, and during public comment, they try to bring town business up.
Yeah, no,
And I think it's, so,
yeah, it's not.
the board has an argument, said, it's town business, we're gonna put it on the agenda.
Yeah, I'm on the agenda. anyway.
So you're good.
We don't wanna give you that point of order.
Okay, I'll close public comment and start with town business first of all. We have a few, some paperwork from the, town clerk to sign, some of the appointments we made last week.
Do you wanna go out of order on that, or?
Yeah, I don't mind delaying that, since we got people here who need to speak, and we don't wanna have them there just sitting there wasting their time. Is that all right, gentlemen?
Yep.
Consensus, okay. Jeff, you're gonna be on, we have an asphalt bid first.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's talk about the settlement first.
Okay?
Get you primed, get you in the mood.
Okay, come on up, have a seat then.
We got nice photographs for you.
Oh, you're too
This is
good.
what you wanted to hear. We got a roof repair we gotta deal with. It's at the highway garage.
Okay.
We've talked about it in the past.
Just flip that back over.
I did.
I already took care of that.
So the wind knocked that up?
The wind did that.
They even had the proper washers on it and everything, it still blew it up.
Yeah, it looks, I don't know much about this type of roofing, but it looks like there was a layer, and it was washed down, and there was another layer applied, and the joints all tied and stuff. But anyway, the wind caught it, ripped it up. I waited obviously till it was nice and sunny and warm, flipped it back down, put some cleats on it to hold it down. Put them not across the roof, but up and down the roof so the water would run out. It's not a good fix for sure.
Well, we'll definitely address this right away.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we had mentioned it before, that the overall roof has to be, addressed. And come up with a plan, but.
So, as an interim, we do recommend we just do a quick fix and
Well,
then
I think we ought to get somebody that has some experience in
look at it.
repair it,
I think,
so it doesn't leak.
I think we could probably get it repaired right away, Mike, I don't think we're talking huge money here for this.
Yeah, and I think we gotta come up with a longer term for the whole roof.
I agree.
there's two roofs. A number of years ago, we had the pitch roof shingle, and this is on an addition, a slight pitch.
Shed,
on the roof.
shed pitch, yeah.
So,
So that's why that's roll roofing on them, like, and, they make a base layer that you tack down, and this stuff is the base layer. I never really understood that, because the base layer is put down with those washers, like you
Yes.
see here. And then the other layer sticks, it makes it nice when you go to remove it like this,
yeah, it just,
but the top layer never sticks, and the reason they put that base layer in is asphalt shrinks and expands at a different rate than the plywood or substrate. So when those substrates move differently, they crack a lot of times, so.
Is this the, can I just ask, we brought this up a couple years ago, so
Yeah,
it was
the-
gonna need a whole rubber roof.
we
Is
were
this-
gonna have to address the roof at some point, get it assessed and come up with a plan,
It's just the shed roof portion.
yeah, a piece of the, I guess you call it the drip edge had come off, and I repaired that, I put it back on, and we talked about it a little at the time, we ought to come up with an overall plan, but this was when we had that high wind a couple, 3 weeks ago, it
Yeah.
really, we were 40,
We had
50
50
mile
mile
an hour,
hours,
yeah.
51
Yeah,
that day.
it got under the corner of it, peeled it up,
Yeah.
I have,
it didn't, everything was still there, I was able to flop it back down, but it needs to be fixed better than that.
I have that company, Platinum Roofing, providing us a bid for lane for this building. I'll ask them to go out and look at that building, and give us an
I
update.
haven't seen that in my inbox yet, have you?
No, he didn't send it yet.
Okay, all right, so I didn't miss it, I've done a lot.
Should we get another one in addition to
What
that?
is the name again?
Platinum Roofing.
Platinum.
And probably 2 additional lanes,
Yeah.
we probably need. The platinum room is good.
Yeah, I would call Century and then call, what's the name of the gentleman, Worcestershire?
Keegan.
Keegan
West-
Keegan, yeah.
Yeah.
Century's not here, since he's in town, give him the opportunity. Yep.
Was on the tour, both of them.
Thank you.
All right,
Yeah.
can I, for
So-
clarification, if they come to the office, the highway garage, we're looking for what type of repair?
It's a repair on the shed roof.
Just the shed roof?
Yeah.
And what are we looking to do, asphalt, rubber,
It'll be the same type of.
Same type of
same
ones have,
type, replacement?
yeah, keep a copy of that for you.
Okay, so replacement, yep, so
And the thing is, we're not looking at a full roof replacement this time, however, that's gonna be in the cards in the near future. When I say near future, maybe in 1 to 2 years.
Come up with a recommendation.
Okay,
Right.
I will show them this idea.
Lean, if you want them to meet me, I'm available.
Okay.
Or, you'd be available too?
Yeah,
Phone call?
I guess, yeah. Well, I
You should probably be the lead on this one.
Let Jeff know when the,
Yeah, and then if they can't make it, when Jeff's available, I would default to Dave.
okay.
Well, I think, just so they get the right material, call me.
I was gonna say, Dave, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
And then I'll go get,
You know what I mean? It's roofing, he's got more expertise in that. I mean, I can say, yeah, they can tell me anything, I'm
Well,
like, whatever.
we could just, we wake up one day, we have slate shingles down there.
Yeah, exactly. Gold plated roofing. You get a bill for it.
Okay. All right, you still have the floor, sir.
All right, now we're on to the asphalt bid thing. We got some information from the town of Bow, Robert Pike was doing a subdivision of town, saw that we were doing a bond, and he got some information that he gave to me, from what the town of Bow does and stuff.
Okay.
And, you know, he passed it on, Lean kinda crafted some of this thing to put out to bid, I mean.
Jeff, I had a question I gave
Yeah.
to Lean earlier this week, and
Yep.
I noticed they did a 1-inch shim, which, you know, like
Yeah.
you said before, levels up the road. And then they only did a 1-inch overlay, that overlay seemed kind of thin to me.
Well, it's not quite as perfect a size to this, cause if you could put a 1-inch shim and a 1-inch overlay, you wouldn't need to shim the road, cause
Right.
it makes you think it's a consistent thickness.
Yeah.
And the shimming is varies, some places you
Some
don't have to, yeah,
places
it's
it's-
exactly what Dave said, you use it in the worst spots to level it up, and then you put that consistent overlay. An inch, if it was a perfect world, it'd be nice to go more, but we've gotta be very careful, cause we'll run out of money,
Right.
cause it's
So did you figure 2 inches when you did the
an inch and a
calculation?
half total,
You did.
as an average, inch and a half. And some of these places, they'll just put an inch and a half asphalt that won't need to be shipped. So it's not really as cut and dry as this makes it sound.
yeah, you
Yeah,
tell
I
me, I
mean,
just
it-
wanted to
Yeah, I think it's kind of the terms they use a lot, but the shim varies as needed type of thing.
The reason I ask is sometimes, you know, when you get to the crown or the crest of the road,
Yeah.
and you see that when the road does start cracking,
Yeah.
a little water gets under there, next thing you know, the sections of the tar.
No, I mean,
keep popping off
that's, it, the way the asphalt is today, every town, everybody's having trouble with center lines cracking. And I've been told by the paving experts that the mix of the paving, they're using more and more reclaimed asphalt in it, obviously to, you know, be more green, and they don't put as much oil and stuff in it, so the stuff isn't as pliable as it used to be, so that's a common thing that's happening, the crack, so I mean, that, we're not gonna get away from that.
Alright.
It's gonna happen some, it doesn't happen everywhere. But in the whole bid thing, to be honest with you, my feeling on it is I understand that we're trying to get the best dollar possible, but it would really be nice to be able to work with advanced paving that we worked with before because of, our relationship with working. They have all the different facets that we need and they're very flexible.
And they gave us last fall a per ton price already, right?
I don't believe they did.
Can we look at that, Lee?
No, I thought you
We
came.
had encumbered money under a price.
Yeah, and I thought I was the one, we pulled the price, we didn't encumber any money, we
We-
talked about it.
Right, but
Right.
she guaranteed X amount of tons to cover the encumbered
Yes,
monies.
yes,
And.
but it wasn't a exact per dollar price.
No, it's just a per ton price, right?
But it wasn't, it had an escalation clause and everything else.
Okay.
That's what they put, any pavement company's gonna do that.
Or they'd be out of business.
Yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is, I think, long-term, for the town, it would be better, cost-wise, and for this job, we're gonna do it the way we're gonna do it, to, work with somebody and work out a bid or a proposal that fits the town. Another thing, you know, just to get everything we wanted done and seeing how it's a bit fluid. What I anticipated or would like to do, plan on doing this year, would be Robert Rogers Road, because it's in pretty rough shape.
Yeah.
It's the worst one we're gonna do, it's the longest one of the longest ones we're gonna do. And it's a direct route to Baldwin, a lot of people are using that to get back and forth to the school and stuff. Because it makes sense, it's a through road, that, Twist Hill Road and Gorham Pond Road. And when you add all those mileages up, you come up with approximately 6.5 miles, which is approximately half of the whole project. So that's where I was gearing on doing those roads this year. Because we had talked about splitting this into 2 sections, which I believe we should do. And I don't think we should try to lock anybody in for 2 years, because they're not gonna do it. And who knows, I mean, asphalt has gone up, I don't know exactly what the price is today, but it's gone up. It might go back down some next year, we don't know, it depends how things play out with the energy issues here. That's what's driving the cost. Also, diesel fuel is doubled, so all the transportation and all the fastest and laying the asphalt down have gone up. That may go back down, who knows, we don't know, I hope it doesn't stay what it's at.
Yeah, I was trying to break it up by like doing that side of town, then do this side of town, and math-wise, it doesn't work out, the numbers don't quite
No.
match up.
It doesn't.
It's either too much one year, not enough the other year.
Exactly, and the other thing is, like, a couple of those roads that were at the end of the list, like Long Pond Road, that was kinda, if we have enough money to do it, but.
Cause that road's not in as bad a shape.
And it's not, it's a through road, but it's not through a road like Robert Rogers Road, let's say. You know, that one, and I feel a lot of people are going to the both school system, both for the kids taking them to school, sporting events and whatever else, it seems to get more traffic. And it is in pretty nasty shape.
Do you have the number of tons you're gonna need for this year, one? So you're thinking of splitting it over 2 years?
Yes,
So two contracts, one this year, one next year?
yes,
Okay,
and just address next year's.
correct, and number of tons, you haven't decided upon that yet?
Well, again, it's a little bit of a variable because it depends how much asphalt we use, because it's not that perfect science. These roads out here, like Robert Rogers Road, in some places it's 20 feet wide, some places it's
So
22
what
feet.
will they, we will expect to have a per ton bid then come in?
I can get a per ton price from you,
Right,
but are we gonna go through that whole formal bid price from soliciting all these bids from all these paving companies, or can I forge a deal with them?
I would like to forge a deal, but unfortunately, I think with this much money, we have to get at least 3 members.
Okay.
and the thing is, I think your consideration that previous work was
Yeah.
there would go a long way. If they
Yeah.
came in competitive, I would be leaning towards one or the
Yeah.
other, but without having the bids in front of me,
Yeah.
if one comes in
So
like,
that's fine.
yeah, if one came in significantly lower, we'd have we'd be forced to go.
Just like ours, for example, on that town
Yeah.
hall, we use the most expensive guy, because we thought we'd get the best job. We don't always do that as a town, you know, but if we have.
Yeah, well, we make the choice.
So the date, that when
All
we
right.
put out the bid, how many weeks should it be out for bid?
So I think what I'm hearing him is to be specific in the 6.5 miles, not, and then you tell them which roads you want.
Yes, I can tell them which road's gonna be.
Or I could list them,
There's 3 roads, Gorham Pond,
yeah,
Robert Rogers, and Swift Hill.
Yeah.
you list those 3,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's approximately 6.5 miles?
Yes,
He had the mileage on his original picture.
I measured it again.
Oh, he did?
You know, I did it with a trick speedometer on my pickup truck.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it could be off a few feet, but that's, I don't know, I guess.
The only thing is, how long should we advertise?
We normally do a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks?
Well, she's still working on her.
The bond application's due by the end of April to get.
We don't need the, bond application to put it out to bid.
Right, well, I'm hoping, and I don't foresee any problems getting the money or borrowing. Our, surplus is still fairly good, we have no large bonds, there's only a small remaining bond for the school. There's like 12 pages to the, application, I'm done with the last page to finish.
You know, she showed me there's a lot of unique questions to the bond that
Yeah.
don't really address the bond, but they're part of it.
What they're looking at are the top 10 taxpayers, they're looking at assessment, how it changes from year to year, and whether we're viable enough, and they ask why you asked for the bond, and I said, you know, explain the vote of the town people, and, you know, hoping that with our credit, that will be enough to move forward with it.
2 to 3 weeks?
Yeah, I think so, 2 to 3 weeks is fine.
We'll plan 3 weeks,
3 weeks for the bid itself.
close out 3 weeks from the day you put it out.
After your RFP is,
Okay, so I'll revamp this to what, like a single page, Jim?
Yeah, and I just would strike the 1 inch shim and 1 inch overlay,
Yeah.
shim and overlay as needed or required or whatever.
All right,
And it's all by the ton, so then, you know what I mean, it's.
yeah.
And the thing is, I would ask that,
And the insurance stuff, it's good to have all that in there, I agree with that. There's another thing about the traffic control, that's good. We can come up with a rough estimate on the tonnage, so you got an idea whether it's, you know,
Well, if you
4,000 tons or 8,000 tons.
if you need any detail work, we get a discount out.
We do. Good, that's great.
She's right behind you, he's
Yeah, I know,
he's
I know.
acknowledging that.
I know it.
all right, so.
And we're not doing any reclaiming on those roads?
I don't know, you have,
No, we're not.
No,
Okay.
no.
No, I mean, we're not.
I could scratch that whole
That
part.
whole thing about the 2.5 inches and all that.
So, Lean, I would ask you to finalize the contract, like Jeff, will look at it one more time,
Yeah.
3 weeks. Jeff, the only thing I'm gonna ask is you attend our meeting when we look at bids 3 weeks.
Oh, yeah, no, I'll be here, for sure. The other thing is, this is a process. When they have described, if this is the second paragraph, the contract will provide traffic control, all that. And then it talks about the joints of the driveways. What we have been doing is when we go by a paved driveway, we have them actually mill the end of that driveway, it's basically take a grinder, cut a little groove in it. It makes a better joint for the residents, if they just go by and they mash the asphalt down onto it. It creates something that it potentially can catch on in plows and so. It costs a little bit of money, but I think it's goodwill and a better gesture. It's way easier not to do that, it doesn't cost as much money, they just push it down there, when like they pave Route 13 or any of these state roads, that's all they do. And they don't even grind our joints for our roads, and it's problematic, the pavement starts tearing up and stuff. And does it eliminate that totally? No, but it makes a better transition for the people. Because, you know, theoretically, you could be putting 1.5 inches of asphalt on there, and you try to push that down, and it doesn't blend as well. So, not every driveway needs that, because a portion of them are dirt. So, I would like to continue with that process.
Okay, so
I
it
think
did say it there, it says contractor will mill and tack coat at all joints.
It,
Want me to
as,
use
as,
driveways?
as directed by the road agent.
Okay, as to, okay, we're gonna have to,
Yeah.
you're gonna sit down with me.
Yeah, that's what I mean, we're gonna add that in and any other joints, but that's what I mean, it's a little fluid, it's like, I don't think we're gonna go out there and count every driveway and say there's 48 driveways that need milling, one's 10 feet, one's whatever. Usually when they do it, they give you an estimate, they'll do it by the foot. You know, you'll do whatever you want, and that's kind of the relationship we've got going, it's just like, hey, I would like you guys to do that, it's like, have them do whatever you want, and they bill us accordingly.
Well, not just that, is after you have this estimate back from these three, and we select one.
Yeah.
Then you can do the math in reverse on your remaining roads.
Exactly.
And if you need over the next 2 years to help out of your budget.
Exactly.
To finish one road up, like say Barnard Hill.
Yeah.
Then you can go ahead and do that at the time.
And that's why I wanted to attack Robert Rogers Road, because that's gonna use a lot of asphalt.
Yeah.
And then, see, Twistle really isn't in that bad a shape, Gorm Pond Road of the three of them is in the best shape.
Yeah.
So it'll go down,
And then, like you said, previous years, Montalona's pretty rough too.
Yeah, we got a couple sections,
And then Black Brook is-
Montalona, we got a couple sections, we're gonna do a little more preparation to.
Yeah.
So, and that mileage wise, that's about half of the estimated mileage that we came up with.
So can I just speak, the ones I hear complaints about in the office are Morse Road and Barnard Hill Road.
Yeah.
So Barnard's on here, but is there any plan to work on
Not-
Morse?
Year two.
I don't want, year two.
Year two,
Morse Road,
it's a 1 mile road,
Morse Road is 4,000 feet long,
okay.
and the plan is to reclaim that. I don't, what complaints are you getting on Barnard Hill Road?
Well, when they, through the driveways, I don't know, the washouts or the, I don't know.
Well, when it rains, those torrential rains, sometimes they'll wash it out, we have to go fix that. A nuclear pavement isn't gonna stop
But
that.
it's on the list, so that would.
Yeah, no, it is one of my included in my master plan, yes.
Yeah, that Morse Road at the meeting, I spoke
Yeah.
directly to that meeting, said, you know, that's, Jeff is gonna be
Yes.
connecting small roads as we do the
And-
major roads.
We could do the same thing, we could just pave it, but it's at the point where it really needs that next level.
Okay.
So, and that, it was on the list, but we weren't gonna do them all this year.
Yep, that's right.
Yep.
And then maybe next year, the prices will be a little more attractive.
That'd be one.
Would you mind giving me an hour and we'll go over and get it opened up tomorrow?
Okay. I say we're good to go then, gentlemen, we're all consensus?
So that's what we'll do, we'll go ahead with that, and,
Is there another piece of paper in here that has to do with that?
No, that's actually.
The packet, one of those piece.
He's got a non-public later on today, different subject.
Okay.
Yeah.
You wanna go and come back, or you can stay, you're welcome.
I'll wait and stay, I want to watch the show. I wanna see how the new chairman does. So far, so good.
And they shuffled all the papers up on purpose, just to welcome me.
He was laughing about it.
Okay, pest control, services. Remember, we have, some items in here, gentlemen? Some pest. We have, a couple bids that came in,
A couple quotes,
a
yeah.
couple quotes.
We don't have a copy of those.
I didn't.
There was only one copy.
Yeah,
I reviewed
Looking for the promotions.
yeah, please.
Do you want, I know Justin's familiar with this type of service, he did look at, both of them, I'm not familiar with,
You got one, Justin?
what's recommended for, oh, that's,
Pest control services. What's the,
I have one from JP Pest Services here. And JP Pest Services,
I think it's gonna require more than one treatment. I think, season, a couple times during the year might be worthwhile.
Okay, there was, one-time treatments, an ant treatment, $3.95, wasp treatment, $300. I think we'll look specifically towards the mouse eradication one myself. And that total cost was $4.95 for a total of 4 weeks. No warranty on mouse. Mouse eradication contract, was corrective services. For this program, we will perform an initial service where we will set mouse traps and bait stations to help eradicate interior, exterior activity. We will perform 3 weeks following up to services to check, cleaning traps, rebait stations, reevaluate upon final visit.
And how's this what it sounds for little mice?
This is,
Let's see, look.
And they would add $100 service charge per follow-up. So it's $4.95 for one services, additional follow-up services, additional $100, so. This one's $500, it looks like, for that.
And the
so
other-
this one must be yearly.
Yes, I think that's correct.
Install and complete monthly commercial pest protection program to treat and monitor for rodents and insects. We will install and maintain 3 insect monitors, 5 tamper-resistant rodent bait stations, 2 tin can rodent monitors, and 3 tamper-resistant express rodent bait stations. All services will be documented electronically and reports will be submitted upon completion and stored in a quality assurance manual on site.
Do we have an insect problem in the building? That's my question.
Our hornets and bees, oh yeah, ants, we do have, once the ants come out, we will have ants and,
So this initial service labor is $113.10.
113.10 per visit?
Initial service labor, initial service product 87, and per service investment 75.40.
I don't comment.
I've got 2 things here.
Let me just finish up with the amounts, Lee, okay? I see here's a monthly, combined program cost fee down below this one I read you earlier. Commercial integrated pest management, monthly commercial pest program. This program includes coverage for ants, mice, wasps, roaches, rats, and other common invaders, i.e. fruit flies, drain flies, house flies, beetles, etc. We will install insect and rodent monitoring devices as well as rodent bait stations to treat and monitor for rodents and insects. This is warranted program where the request for services the pest observes in between our regular service will be performed at no additional cost. Their initial cost is $200 for a startup, $75 per month after that, for a total cost of $129.50. So that's a yearly cost.
$1,000.
$1,029.50. What was your yearly cost, Justin?
It's 113 plus 87, so that's,
Just to
like
read the numbers.
1013, is that what you?
no, 113,
113,
Yeah,
10
plus
for labor, plus 87 for product,
Yeah,
and then you have a per service investment of 75.40.
it's identical.
are you looking at the same vendor?
Yeah,
On that
same,
JP Pest
yeah,
Service.
JP Pest, that's what I'm saying, this is the same
Oh,
exact.
there's another
Well, you
one.
had another one.
There's
Here's
another
another
one.
one.
Yeah,
I thought you
that's the
had
one right
that.
there.
That's what I'm like,
Okay. And now the other one.
what, you want the same sheet you're supposed to have?
No,
The contractor's supposed to
I
sign
thought it was supposed to. This is, seal 12 corner returns, seal 4 chases, seal 6 stairway returns. They're gonna do a lot of sealing. And then, at the end of it, install snap traps in basement if desired, remove resident mice sealed inside. And what, services, it's $12.95. And they're just talking about sealing, and it's warranted, the 3-year warranty applies exclusion of services for mice and rats, is limited to specific areas where work is performed.
This was not sealing anything.
When I spoke to him, I spoke to Monadnock, and, to get the bids, and he broke it down to 3 separate bids. So there's 3 separate bids there. One is just to go around and seal the perimeter, that's what that bid you just read.
Okay.
There's another annual service, it's like a quarterly service.
Initial labor service, $330, yearly investment service, $330. It's a one time, I think, as you said. And then it's initial save for $225 and then $135.
Cause I think one includes rodents and one doesn't, in case we wanted to go either way on quarterly service, you gotta look at what its service is at the top.
Which one are you looking at, Mike?
There's two of them from my ad, there's two of them, they're about $100 difference.
And
And,
I have those numbers you just read me, Mike, and that's $1,020.
yeah,
So banana,
Is that the one for the mice as well? Cause there's one just for wasps and ants, I
thing
believe.
is, I believe the one I feel the mice is the biggest problem. That's the one where you get the most complaints on, how we don't clean.
Yeah.
And insects would be the second one. This is for priority.
and we can table this if there's too much information.
Yeah, the thing is,
Put
I like
together a
I like,
spreadsheet, so that
yeah.
we're comparing apples to
We'll
apples.
just read them.
there are two of them right there.
What's that third
The
one?
third one is actually does sealing of the building, which is a completely different from, the other gentleman doesn't even talk about that. So we look like we're having a single service, mice,
Yeah, and that's what, again, I spoke to him about the main concern was the mice,
you know.
not really a quarterly service, but, so we'd go around, seal up the whole building as much as possible, and, try and,
There are some warranties implied in there too, I just like to have it done more,
yeah, then maybe we should table this so that,
we can study.
research it a little bit more.
We can spend a half hour on this, just looking at this right now.
Yeah.
Leo, you had a comment?
Yeah, well, started out, we were worried about the mice, and now we're just trying to kill everything that breathes and comes through here.
That's why I prioritized it was the mice in my
Is this a
field.
good time of year to be doing this for the mice, because they're all going back outdoors now?
I thought the same thing, maybe
You
do it in
They
November.
come in and when it gets cooler weather,
Right.
that's when they're gonna go outside right now, so you're gonna have them set this up, they're not gonna be catching anything, you know?
My thought is if we get into a yearly contract with somebody, at least in this first year to get above and beyond it, that it'll bring it right through the fall season when they're gonna start coming back in again.
Right, but you're gonna be paying to monitor this for nothing all summer.
Well, it's pretty cheap, it goes down to $75 a month.
Right, but I mean, just for nothing. The same thing with the ants, I do the ant, twice, they do it twice yearly at my house, and it's under $300, well under $300.
This is no bigger than that.
I mean, they do,
Yes, there's mice and.
He's just talking.
Yeah.
yeah, just, and they do my house, my garage, my outbuildings, everything.
I'd say, I agree with Justin, I'd say just let's table this to next week, we'll make a decision next week on this.
I think we all need to read through this.
Yeah, and if we just have copies
If
of
I
this.
put a spreadsheet together, can you review it and make sure that I've covered everything that's
We agree to-
described in there? That
Yep.
way,
Yeah, I don't think you need to do a spreadsheet,
No.
but we can add the numbers up ourselves.
okay, so.
You got enough stuff to do.
Forward those two quotes to each of you?
Yes,
We'll read through, we'll do our own town
Okay,
meeting.
Yeah.
all right.
and the thing is, it's something we gotta take into consideration, mice are mobile go outside, and maybe we just need an insect thing for this time. Ants are always gonna wanna come in with this food.
Well, I feel if we don't,
Making
sign on to some program, at least for this 1 year, to get this thing caught up, I think we'll
Yeah.
hear a lot of grief if we don't. Whether they're going outside or
The ant
not.
treatment does work,
Okay,
it does work.
all right, I'm gonna move on now.
Okay.
So we got an action item there, we're gonna have some homework on the email for us to take a review at, take a better look at all both contracts. All right, Chief Urbanock, you're on.
Good evening. I wanted to just update the board on a couple things. The Central New Hampshire Special Operations Unit, our agency was formally accepted today by the executive board, us and Woodstock are the two
Oh, great.
newest agencies to join. I held a, internal selection process, we're only gonna send one officer at this time, just because of the size agency we have, but, Sergeant Tyler put in for that and was selected,
Oh, okay.
to move forward. So the SOU has their own selection process, there's an oral board, PT test, weapons qualifications, but I have no doubt he'll do well at that, so.
I just wanna make sure that we have him under commitment for how many years now?
Yeah, no, he's staying, I tell him that all the
What's
time.
the acronym or the title of the company?
It's, the Central New Hampshire SOU. Thank you again for the board support with that. Grants, I submitted the body cam grant. The deadline was March 15th, so I'm hoping to hear something relatively soon. There was a lot of competition and not a lot of funds available, so worst case scenario, I do have year one of the contract in my budget. But again, like we discussed, I'm trying to get that 5-year contract could be paid, all at once, with the state footing half the bill and the town footing the other half, so I'll certainly keep the board, posted on that. I'm optimistic.
I noticed there's been a lot of talk on the news about grants being available for them and additional money that the state has for
Right.
them, so.
Right.
I'm hoping it comes through.
I'm hoping so as well, and the good part is we have body cameras now, so it's not like we're starting out fresh, we're just trying to upgrade and improve our.
Yeah, these allow you to upload and.
Yeah.
Management is what's.
The management is huge, the cloud-based storage is huge, because right now, with the way we're doing it, it's just,
Cumbersome.
very cumbersome. I applied for another fishing game OHRV enforcement grant, that's the one we've been kind of doing every single year, to get some, net gain of police coverage down at the OHRV park. Last year, we got 2,700, which is the max amount of the grant, but, once the park opens back up, under our current grant cycle, we'll be able to focus some extra patrols down there, because it does get very busy, particularly in that parking area. I mean, there's sometimes hundreds of people down
So
there.
we are on board to get the dollars.
I'm still working through the 2021-2022 funding, I applied for 2022-2023 funding.
Gotcha, okay.
I applied for a safe and active, communities grant, which is our bicycle helmets and bicycle safety equipment. We were awarded that, that's through the Children's Hospital at Dartmouth, so we're gonna be hosting a bicycle rodeo, our 5th one in August. So I'll make sure that the board has that date, and, you know, I'll send it to you if you don't mind plugging that, it's always a good event.
Yeah, you seem to get a lot of participation.
We do, yeah, we do, and even folks that can't make it will drop helmets off at their house if they're on vacation or whatever. And then the only other grant I just wanna make the board aware of, I applied for it's called Health and Public Safety Workforce Resiliency Training Grant. Basically, that's a really long way of saying, mental health training and services for law enforcement. They have some, access to applications that we could use for officer wellness and things of that nature, and kind of bolster our training in, self-care, which is really starting to, take hold, and a lot of agencies are jumping on board with that kind of stuff, so. I did, and I
Are
know
you still a principal grant writer?
I am, I took,
You gotta
took
get
that with me.
You gotta do some training, cross training.
I know, it was trial by fire, I'll throw it at Brian at some point.
Okay.
I did, I don't know if you guys have a copy, and I know there needs to be a public hearing, but I did put together a, proposal for restructuring our detail rate.
Okay.
I don't,
Why don't we just defer discussion to the public hearing, save effort.
yeah, that's perfectly fine, so, feel free to dissect that, if you have any questions, feel free to
I
reach
think
out.
it's an attachment on an email.
Yeah,
I will resend it to you
Yes.
guys, but then I'll also have
Public
paper
hearing.
copies, but we have to have a public hearing.
Correct.
right, and I know in the past when we've done it, we've had, I think like the transfer station came in and looked at their rates and stuff like that, other town departments looked at.
But what I'm looking for is just, you know, I look at the rates, but the thing is, I don't wanna be up here, or we
Absolutely.
won't get anything. And it's a
Yeah.
win-win for the vehicle fund
Yes.
and funding some of our officers.
That's right, and that, you'll see just, basically the long and short of that, I kept the overall rate the same, I just restructured where some of the dollars go.
Okay.
Because I do wanna be competitive, but I don't wanna price ourselves out where other towns aren't calling us.
So you didn't increase it at all?
I didn't increase it at all, I'm trying to get more money for our officers, so it's more competitive with other towns, and then I increased the cruiser rate, and then decreased the admin fee. And the big drive behind that is because, I'm the only officer grandfathered where, details count towards my retirement, but I don't work details. So it's kind of, I think something we could shift dollars from here and boost it.
So it's a limited admin problems.
For sure, yeah, and it's still enough to cover payroll expenses and still generate revenue under that admin surcharge.
I would like to provide them detailed spreadsheet of the different costs. And like you said, it's when a full-time individual does a detail, that the cost savings is little to none, but when the part-timers are doing the
Right.
detail, that's when we get the more of the administrative, fees that we collect. But then it also covers things like the OHRV, which they don't cover payroll tax and other things, so
Right.
there are, expenses on other grants that we apply for that are kind of covered under
Yeah,
that revenue,
yeah.
so it's really a wash.
Sure, yeah, and I kept it still bolstered up, it was a $4 decrease, just increasing two to the officer and two to the vehicle. But certainly, I know this has to go before the public, and we can kind of hash out the details out, and certainly if you wanna meet, I'm happy to meet and discuss it some more.
Yeah.
Now, why is it we have a public hearing on that section of it, Lee?
Anything that's, a fee collected for services for the town is required under RSA. So we typically will send out a notice to all the departments, you have the town clerk that may want to propose a tax on vehicle registrations, you have collections for, building permits, things like this, transfer station for disposal, all of those should be combined together, because then the general public, the taxpayer, who's gonna be impacted by these, fees that we change our rates for, will have an opportunity to speak. For example, once they were looking at, increasing the rates for like tires or disposal of tires, and someone in the audience said, if you raise it up too high, you're gonna find them on the side of the road or on the back roads, and then who's gonna benefit from that? So you have to find that you need.
I understand it for fees that town people will be paying for services from the town, but these are fees that are collected.
It's the same thing, if anything that's,
It was done before, a couple years ago, we were really low.
2019.
Yeah, we were getting every,
Well, I know we had the meeting, I just don't remember it being a public meeting.
public hearing.
the thing is, it was, had such great interest, I think we had about the same size audience.
Leo was there again.
No, but the thing is, we just gotta do things right, that's part of it. And, I just saw, quickly looked at the rates, so we're still competitive, but
Yeah, still competitive and reasonable, it's.
I just don't wanna be the bottom one.
I don't either, you'll see the table I put together, the costs are all over the place, there's really no consistency between municipalities, but I think it keeps us fair and it keeps us competitive at the same time.
And our road agent gets a discount, right?
That's up to the board, that's up to the
Well,
board.
I would think we ought to at least get the administration and the cruiser costs.
Exactly.
I understand the wages for the workers, but all the rest of it, we should be waiting.
Department updates, anything else?
That's all I have for, public
Okay.
session, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate you coming in.
I just got a comment. I'm glad to see Chris is getting some money back from Fish and Game, because I feel that park down there is a draw on our services, both the police and the fire department, and we have no say or no choice on it. It was given to us through the state, and these guys have to maintain it, go down there, like he says, patrol it, deal with bad actors, the fire department has to go down there with their resources for rescue calls.
Now we also have.
At least now we get some revenue back, I'm glad to see
Yeah.
that.
We have an emergency team that can come up for lost children now too.
We do.
And
Yeah.
just on another note, the highway department helps the fish and game department out too. We plow the boat launch at Kimball Pond Road, they don't do any winter maintenance. People in town and out of town like to use it, it's a state-run boat launch, they won't plow it. If we don't plow it, the people park in the road on Kimball Pond Road, snowmobile trails, et cetera, the same. So, we've been doing that, we were forced into having to do that. The same with the boat launch at Gorham Pond, we plow that parking area as well. The Fish and Game doesn't respond with any kind of compensation or anything else. They won't do it, because they don't, it's not in their budget. So I feel the town, I'm glad to see we're getting something for our efforts.
The thing is, calls gonna come in regardless.
Yeah.
Do you plow Gorham Pond one too, Joe?
Yes. It's the same issue we ran into there, if we don't plow it. If you get enough snow, people will park in the road. And you can't blame them, they wanna go use the facility, I'm not blaming the people, it's just, I don't think it's, no, we don't go up there, we stay away from
I'm
that.
fishing down there, and I'm like a plank.
I
Don't
don't
be
dare
parking on
go
the
down
road
there.
now. Don't be parking on the road now. Okay. Continue on, CIP, update.
So I brought this to your attention attention because we have not reviewed this since 2015 when we adopted it in early 2016. And the reason for that is, and part of this bond application, is I have to submit this to with the bond application, so there's quite a few different, internal attachments that I have to send with the application, and, because it's expired at 2021, we really need to sit down and take a look at this and review all their requirements.
Who in the office is the lead?
This was before my time, I'm not even certain, so I'll have to look at the original, application.
Would you ask what?
Who is the lead for this?
Oh,
I believe, I don't know,
Planning board?
I think it might have been planning board at the time, but,
Maybe we can go back and submit it,
yeah, cause I think at the time it was connected because they needed it for the, town of Dunbarton master plan.
is that
That's
what
how
it
they
is?
can understand.
Became
Okay.
created,
Okay.
a lot of it.
Okay. I mean, it's a great tool, I'm learning a lot through, the school board and how they, project all these different
Right.
spreadsheets, and, it really is a good tool if you update it. And
Well, I see this was the genesis of all the revolving funds, capital improvement funds we've been plugging in.
Right,
for
and
it.
trying to keep the tax rate flat, and it's really important that we don't spike.
Level.
Level, excuse me, yes,
Okay,
correct, yeah.
so what's the action we wanna do here?
Would you agree, have a consensus that we need to update this, and I'll look into it further so that we can kind of find out
Absolutely.
where we want to, who's gonna be responsible to, on the selectmen's level, to,
We could do this as a special meeting for the selectmen if we had to, a workshop type thing, if we had to, just to knock it out.
do you recall the initial startup, this, Jack, where did, I
Yeah,
think you
let's
had to
do
have all
it
the
back.
departments come in with a
Yeah,
plan
and then we'll do it.
of what the
Yeah,
equipment and,
Lean, what we do a little research on it,
Yeah.
and then we can put our heads together, find out what went on before, not create the wheel again, then we can have a workshop to get it
all
done.
right, so.
I seem to remember it being done as part of that master plan
Is that what
program.
it was, okay. I'll maybe.
if you have a capital improvements plan, it enables you to charge impact fees as well.
Yeah, but
That's
impact
what-
fees are
We-
different,
yeah.
different subjects.
No, but the
All
capital
these-
improvement plan was all,
Are quite a tool that we needed in
Right.
place, so,
Yeah.
all right.
So
we had it, but we never funded it.
Right. But we funded capital improvement plan by
Not with the town, capital reserve,
capital reserve funds.
capital reserve, capital improvement, are two different issues, two very different things.
But I believe that there was a minimum requirement that the department had to,
$15,000,
right, had to present to.
their improvement or whatever, and have a lifespan, I think, of 5 years.
And this is something we wanted to look at anyway for future land purchases within the town anyway. If you-
This
Yeah,
would,
this
this
year.
would be what everyone was clamoring for, do we need a new town hall? Do we need a new fire station, or safety center?
Yeah.
And this would put this on a plan, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be worthwhile to bring it up.
Worked with a gal from Central Regional Planning,
Central-
Stephanie,
Okay,
we're gonna work with on the, gas mitigation, Stephanie Alexander.
Okay, let's move on and continue on. Lee, so you're all set on that?
yeah,
Okay, mailbox items now.
Jeff, do you wanna let me know when that comes up? I think I'm gonna move up on that section of it. Hazard mitigation, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 Donna's kind of
Okay.
facilitating all, so she'll
Yeah.
let us know.
Okay, we still gotta sign some appointment papers, okay? We'll just remember that, we're gonna get to that. Get to the CRS, the RRC appointment,
going to mailbox.
yes.
I think you guys actually mentioned that last week during the appointments, that
That's
we,
correct.
we're gonna appoint.
The current is
Patrick Brown,
yeah,
and they asked us to sign that document,
okay.
so we have a.
I think Woody smiled when I said he was gonna be it again.
Yeah.
So, he's our point of contact there and our representative. Okay, it's basically says, we're gonna like to nominate, Patrick Brown as our representative to the, Concord Regional Solid Waste Resource Recovery Cooperative. That's a motion on the table, gentlemen.
Second.
discussion is, this is a 3-year term, I have no problem with that, and I'd say, any other discussion on this?
No.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, Lean's been appointed, I'll let you fill out the paperwork here,
Okay, does it need a selectman signature on it?
certified by the town, city clerk has to sign it, and this is gonna be put up and signed by her.
Okay.
That's that for you. Okay, gentlemen, we have you notice how we've been putting a lot of town-related storage in their containers, the wreaths across Dunbarton, the flags across Dunbarton, all that. Well, Primex came up with a,
Do you want me to speak on it for just a second? So
Yeah,
one of my to-do lists this week was to update our disclosures to our insurance company, which requires all the vehicles be verified, that we still have them, and then the buildings and et cetera. And when I came to the equipment, there were a couple of storage containers that were at the transfer station on the list, and I realized we just purchased 3. And then I started thinking about the one that's down here, that we've been asked to store other committees' equipment in there. Got me thinking, she's suggesting that maybe a policy of some sort or an indemnification form that they fill out, that we're not responsible for
I
theft
read
or
through that,
damage.
and I'm in favor of that, just having our attorney write the form up.
you know, it's a whole harmless
Just
agreement.
outside,
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
harmless? Okay,
It's basically, we're letting you use the storage, if it burns, we're not responsible for it, under our insurance policy.
It'd be pretty hard for those to burn in there, but
but even
Theft and
if somebody
everything, sure.
theft.
Theft, water damage, anything like that. Lean, that's an action item for you then.
Okay.
Okay, we have a can crusher estimate from the transfer station manager. He sent it on email to everybody, it's for $14,145. That's significantly less than the bid, but the thing is, it does not include the installation of the electrical. The only issue with this, that I see, is the delay, is the delivery will be, lead time is 26 to 28 weeks.
I think that's gonna be common in the industry right now.
So I have no problem with the bid as he presented it.
I didn't either, one thing I did have an issue with is, Woody's the department head there, and this has gone through town meeting, gotten approved, and Lena's told him, that money's set aside for you, so go ahead and do the purchase, we talked about it last week. I'm not sure why he's asking for a selectman's approval on it, cause it seems to be done.
Yeah, I think he's just looking this to double check, and I think, so I agree with you, it's,
Yeah.
the legislative body gave it.
Yeah, and we kinda walked him through that last week, so.
Yeah, I think the big change that he was concerned about is the length of time that's gonna take to get it in, but once the vote is passed, if we don't have the equipment in by December 31st, I have to encumber the funds, because technically we didn't write the warrant, but we have a contract, so once we put the order in, it's technically like a contract, so we're good.
And to hook that up, he's gonna use the rest of the money in the warrant article, and then his maintenance budget or something to.
I think there's enough money in there without using his maintenance line
Correct.
to fund it.
Right,
Okay.
cause the warrant
So
itself
it's
was
just
for
under 4,000.
it was $17,045,
45.
And he had
and
the
the
estimate
second
earlier.
quote he got for just running the electrical, 110,
Right.
for that specifically was about $2,400 or
220. I was gonna say that's on there, 220.
220, okay.
220 conversion.
Single phase, it was a
That's what it
phase,
was.
it was,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a 3-phase or single phase, and then he adjusted it for a single.
so I'd say, execute,
Okay.
gentlemen, consensus, execute.
Yes.
Okay, and we have another quote in here on windows. Lean, we'll let you talk to that a little bit.
Okay.
She asked for that.
I asked for a handyman to come in and take a look at the windows. I have, comments made over the years about the cleanliness of the dirt that accumulates in between the dust webs, cobwebs, whatnot.
Well, I'm gonna read it's a very short contract, I'm gonna read what he's gonna do. He's gonna remove all interior weather panels, remove all exterior storm panels, wash all panels and screens, install stops as needed to keep screens and sashes from falling. He's gonna use window wash, corner bracket, stop material, and spline material. Labor, basically to remove interior storm panels and label, remove all exterior panels, wash all panels and screens, wash sashes in and out, add spline material, angle brackets, or stop materials as needed to keep screens and sashes from dropping, caulk any obvious gaps and to help keep bugs out. 19 windows, he's doing it $80 per window.
Yeah, he thought it was, originally he was, considering power washing, but it's too fragile at this.
I'll make a motion to accept the bid as written.
I second.
Just a discussion here, it's above $1,000.
Yep.
Yep.
We can go up to 10, so.
Okay, I just wanted, the bid was $1592.50, I just wanna make sure you put that in the motion, Dave.
Yeah, that's what, but 1592.50, but
Right.
when you look at these, he talked about taking these interior panels off, the exterior panels on there, washing all layers of those and the windows, and replacing glazing and or caulking. And right now, if you open up some of these windows, they drop right down and could chop a finger off, so.
Oh, yeah,
And he's also gonna label them, so reinsertion in the winter will be easier.
all of that was recommended by me, because it's critical, you can't just take them out and put them in a stack. They have to be numbered, because they're all designed specifically for each window, and if they're not the right window, then to go back in, it could be really pushing forces.
So I think it's a wise thing to do and have it done, and
He's not gonna, you had a question on reglazing, he's not gonna reglaze, he's gonna put caulking material, I guess. He's not gonna throw.
I think the caulking was for the edges. And
Yeah,
not the-
obvious gaps to keep bugs out.
Yeah, because you can see daylight through the bottom of it.
Right,
Can you check with Elaine and see if he sees glazing cracking, that he reglazes
Okay,
the sash, cause they're independent sash, once you get behind that.
well, the motion's on the table, any further discussion on that?
No, I think it's a good thing to have done for now.
It was good.
Okay,
The way those are sealed up, Mike, if, you know, I've been in here 5 years and haven't been done.
they're too heavy for us to, even in
so,
cleaning process.
You know, I think if we do that every 4 or 5 years, it's something to just keep the building up.
okay.
Yeah.
All in favor then?
Yep.
Alright. Lee, you can execute on that one,
Got it.
okay? Public comment now, Leo, anything, chief?
We did skip over Pro Technologies there in the mailbox items.
Pro Technologies.
Yeah, they're paper clips, together it's like 8 or 9 quotes, one for each building. That would be 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buildings. Pro Technologies. Paper
Oh,
clips
yeah,
at the top.
I'm looking for it. Alright, we'll get it on you.
On the right hand side, Mike. No, right on the pound, right, no, right in your folder.
Okay,
Yep. Those ones that have a signature, that's that one.
okay. No, that's something else.
Okay.
Nice try.
Like I said, it's quite a stack of,
I tell you, I've been trying to keep it straight.
Yeah.
There we go. It was hidden in the non-public stuff. Okay. This is a Pro Technologies, it's a test and inspection, it's an annual test and inspection of the fire alarm system and fire alarm related devices. System to clear upon the departure is gonna take 2 technicians per hour. Pro Technologies will properly test all control system functions, charges, applies, and communications. They'll provide a typed test report for inspection showing all devices and testing findings. It's $179 for building 1. $268 for,
They do have the buildings labeled there.
Yeah.
They do. One was a
yeah, it's
little
all
confusing.
separate addresses.
So this was, discussed at joint loss, so I took liberty of giving them a call, because I tried to reach out to them in the past. And Mary seems to be the only one that's been following up with them to make sure they come out and inspect her, fire alarm where we haven't been, getting them. And then it did reassure me that if we go this route, that they would put us on a renewal every year to do it.
well, the thing is, I just have to say about this Pro Technologies, how many fewer calls have you had with this company compared to the previous regime?
Very few, they've really,
Right?
they're functioning.
Right. The thing is, I just recall that was like a boat anchor around me, like every 3 weeks we'd have a problem with the other one. Hey, Jeff, you can relate. Your company, your garages were going crazy.
Is that something that needs to be done yearly, or can it be bi-yearly, or?
It's up to the board if you think that that's,
Well, the thing is, I think for the amount of money, this is a fire alarm and fire, it's a safety type thing.
Yeah.
To have the,
we do it yearly for the library.
yeah, and to have the building burned down, or because we had a faulty alarm, and no one, the neighbor had to call when it was on
We
the,
get
almost
error
to the ground.
messages from time to time as well, so.
Should we talk to them about the issue you're having, did
Yeah,
you reach out?
they'll do that during this testing.
So let's make sure each building official or department head is there during the time they're there, so we get anything resolved.
So we have basically quotes per building, 179, 268.50, 268.50, and 179, and 268.50 for 5 buildings, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So the buildings are the town offices.
Yeah.
Town hall library,
No, we already did this, the garage,
garage,
the fire, the police, and the transfer station.
and the fire and police are separate.
They're separate, because they have different alarms setups, and their smokes and whatnot are separate.
Right.
Do we pay them a fee monthly now?
For monitoring, yeah, it's $89 a
And
month.
when we signed the contract with them, none of this stuff was included, like
No,
testing and.
Actually, that's all we pay is $89 for all the buildings to monitor.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah, she had, you printed out the contract, the original one, just, I brought that question, well, if we're paying for it, why
Well,
are they
we're
not
paying
doing
for
the
it.
service,
Yeah,
but
we're just-
it wasn't in the original one that was.
Wouldn't it be easier if we just go pull the alarm in each building and see if they're working?
No, but I have the same, I have the same hardware at my house, and I'll be honest with you, the thing is, if they got to change the batteries, the thing is, I'll get a remote alarm, and the thing is, it'll go off in the middle of the night, and it's a pain in the rear end to deal with it. And so my wife makes me change it all at one time, so we're not messing around with it, and I have the same hardware in my house.
Yeah. And it's possible to be helpful too when the individuals hear what we're here, so that we can make sure that we understand the whole system. We have questions on even using it, monitoring, reading the codes, that would be part of their.
And I think at this one time we should do it, I'll make a motion to accept those bids as read for the 5 different areas.
I second.
Any further discussion on it?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Again, I think it's important because it's a safety thing.
Yeah, we'll see if we do it every year now, maybe every 5.
Does that have any bearing on the insurance that we pay?
I checked into it, they don't do that any longer.
Then we do,
Did you reduction on your
no,
insurance?
I was just wondering if they raise your rate if you're not taking care.
No, they can't do it other way.
Hey, for the record,
We don't tell them.
I do get a discount to have an alarm at my house.
Yeah, right, they usually give you discounts.
They take 5% off
I
the,
checked into that
It
one.
would make sense if they did, because then you can be lackadaisical as Dave wants to be, and your place burns down, and they're gonna pay.
no, the thing is, I do get a discount on mine, but I don't think they do it from municipalities. But the thing is, it's still, thing is, I think this company's been a wise decision, because, the amount of complaints, have been minimal.
Yep, I remember.
As I seem to.
It was very problematic in the beginning.
And the thing is, he was telling you to do almost like stand on one foot, open the left, only on Tuesday, and open the door, see if it shuts it down. I mean, it was so weird, his solutions were, it was almost, that was funny. Okay, enough said. All right, I think I'm done. I think, mailbox, I mean, we talked about,
Because we're gonna go to non-public, we're gonna
Exactly.
bring it to Lean and the board, so.
yeah, thinking anything for the group, for the public too.
No, I'm still busy working on my list of items that have deadlines, so I'll be keeping
Okay.
you busy.
I just, follow up, I saw some traffic on Indeed that we had an interview with, did that not pan out?
We had one that was scheduled for Thursday, and when I checked with him to see if he could move it to Wednesday, to try to keep them together, because Woody had expressed that Thursday was not gonna be a good day, he responded that he found employment elsewhere. And then the second one actually showed up, and I got there about 3 minutes to 1 to sit down with him and Woody, and Cameron told me, hey, that guy just left. And I said, what? And Woody said, yeah, he got there 10 minutes early, which was a good sign. He said, I'll be right with you, and went to go tell Ed Wooten, who's in machinery, that he was gonna be tied up in the office for a few minutes. And he turned around, he was gone, left. Didn't go through the interview.
You got scared, huh?
Okay, so that tells us 2 things. Let's have the interviews at the town offices here, so. No, I think, I watched this Indeed thing, and when we put it on, we get responses right away, and then it dries up. I'd like to take it off Indeed for a week and then put it back on. And the reason I'm telling you this is as soon as we put it on, we get these applicants, we ourselves are our own fault, because we let these sit there for a couple of weeks without doing anything, and we're giving these people chances to get a job. So when we come to them,
Well, that's what I've expressed to Woody, is that we have to act on it, get
Right.
him in here and get him in for an interview. And we're required by Indeed's protocol to respond within 14 days.
Right.
So I wanna try to get him
But
in
I
here.
think what he's saying is, don't wait in 14, do it like the next day to get.
Just schedule.
I know we went through meetings now, we
Yeah.
said it's okay to do, but
Yeah.
we have to get by that now, and I don't
Yeah.
think, if we just leave it on Indeed, we're not gonna get that fresh.
The thing is, you pay a fee minimum for so many days.
I don't
and so
care about the fee, we don't have the employees, so we
Right.
need it.
But what happens is, as the new, I get a lot of emails in my inbox from potential candidates. I have to review them, and if I consider an out lady working at the hair salon, answering the phone, it's not gonna qualify, even though
That's
she
discrimination.
said, she even,
She might be excellent.
even though she said that she was, you know, they basically take a category, whether it's education, you know, or if the person that's applying says, I want any job that comes up, my name to be thrown in the hat. And the first time I reviewed it, there was like close to 70 applicants in there, and they just didn't qualify. If you have a dog walker that's, you know, has an application with Indeed, they don't qualify for working outdoors at a transfer station, so I have to kind of weed out some of them.
Whether they walk the dog outside.
All right, so that's
No, I know
gonna,
what you
it's gonna be a
mean.
challenge.
It is, I would prefer to leave it on there, I'll look at it, maybe refresh it and leave it, you know, take a closer look, but I will take your recommendation. One comes in, I'm scheduling an interview.
But if it dries up, Lean, I know that as soon as we put it on, we always get a boost of them.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why that is, but something must cycle, people saying, okay, a new job, and they look at it. So if this next week we don't get a couple applicants, we need to shut it down
And I
Move
think
it back.
I saw in
Wait for a
that
couple
email
days.
from Woody
a
that
week.
I can add Woody in there as an admin, so he can go in there and look at it himself. as
Yeah, I
well.
noticed he wasn't able to enter in there, which is kinda silly if he wants to look through them.
The other thing is, Woody gave some updates, which we're gonna read, and the thing is, I'd like to have Woody come in next week, if that's consensus of the board,
Yeah.
talk to us.
Gotta go over everything on it even.
The thing is, there may be some business practices we have to change for the interim until we get there.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Justin, this to you. Lean, anything else?
Did you mention Woody's, update of his department, did you
Right.
wanna talk about that?
Well, there are several things I don't wanna talk about without him being here, I think, I don't wanna
Okay,
spin
so we're
wheels
gonna table what he wrote
and have him come in next
and
week.
have him come in, okay, gotcha.
Justin, anything?
I don't think so, just a few things from the last meeting on have we set a date for the pre-construction meeting?
We wait on the contract. As soon as we get the contract, where we can, look at it and then invite him in.
Okay, and then, did the letter get sent out to, School Street Cafe about the parking?
Not
I
yet,
just wanna make sure like
no,
it's done, in case it has to be enforced a couple times.
And speaking of letters going out, I just wanna say, the politicking letter for in the office?
No.
Okay,
not yet.
Thank you, Dave. That's all I have.
Dave, to you.
I had just a couple of things. One thing I learned looking through this paperwork with Lean about the bond paperwork and looking at our town assessed values. How you get your bonds and your bond rates is how your town looks overall, and whether you have other bonds or whatnot. And we're in good shape, this town is. But in looking at the assessment that we have for our buildings, in other words, our town owned items, when you look at how much the town owns and what the value is at, like when you look through our town reports, and that's in there for every year. Like they have that building assessed at $594,000 over there. We can see we can't even build a little addition on it for, you know, 700,000.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when those get looked at, Lean. But I think that the town assessments of the town's property needs to be looked at. I'm not sure if our assessing board handles that or.
They do, it's actually the MRI, and they will review it, every 5 years, or when there's a building permit that's pulled. So for example, when the school went through the big addition, they reviewed the school building and added the value to that.
Did they do it as far as the reevaluation across the town?
Yes, they did, they absolutely did, but when I put, what you're seeing, if it's the, one that lists just the town properties, that's just the building value, and then the contents is listed separate, and that's for insurance purposes.
Well, I wasn't looking at just, when you look at the accountant information that's in our town reports over the years,
Yeah,
you'll see that our town values are fairly low, but when we go to get bonds and stuff, those values may help us get a different bond rate.
they don't consider that untaxable stuff, it's only what brings in taxes is what's looked at for, bond rating, because they have to they ask questions like, of the top 10 taxpayers in the town, have any of them been delinquent in their taxes greater than 30 days? So I have to go through the tax, program and look to see when they've made their payments for the last 4 years.
You know,
It's nothing related to the town's
Yeah, I guess
assessment.
they're looking at, money.
Cash flow.
Cash flow.
They want them to see what brings in your revenue for taxes.
I looked at it, it does have something to do with your town values as well, because they want to know if your buildings are owned or unowned, or what the value of those
On the
buildings
bond
are.
application?
Yeah,
Well, I missed that section because I didn't read that at all.
on your bond ratings,
Oh,
when you go, you know, when you're looking at the banks with the ratings, that's
Yep,
what I saw.
yep, okay,
Not so much on the paperwork you're doing,
yeah.
so,
Well, that's where they, actually, in there, it asks if the town has bonds. And typically you would have a bond if you're gonna be doing something in capital improvement.
yeah.
So all of those different pieces.
I was just wondering when they get updated, because they seemed awful low.
Every 5 years. And the other thing too, though, is, what's impacting our ratio for the properties right now is the land sales. How they explained it to me is that you can only charge so much per square foot for a building structure, and to the point where you get maxed out, and then you have to look at the total property, whereas towns like Goffstown has 1 acre and 2 acre properties, we have 5 acres, so they have to look at the whole picture as what is skewing the prices for homes that are going up, that are only, the building itself is only assessed at 350,000, but they're selling for 600. So they have to look at what is prompting our sales to go up so high, and they usually have to increase the value of the land at that point, when the ratio drops too low, where they can't max out the value of a building, if it's an average building, and it's still selling for $600,000, you know?
The only other thing is, I just wanna have you put a note down about Ed Wooten's hours. Just so we send that, just so I don't forget.
You want me to take care of that, just send that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you have her email, I think.
I do, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just ask for Dave Nalta, should have forwarded that to her, so.
And I just had one question, since road agent here, how much longer on the roads being posted?
Another week, maybe two.
Any problems noted? So we have the chief right here if you need backup.
Yeah, we've had a couple minor issues that we've dealt with.
Okay.
Best we can. We got a mystery truck that we can't seem to track down. Chris took all the information that was given to him, and it didn't pan out, so.
Oh, really?
I mean, we're confident it existed, but
Yeah, he called me too that day, and went by again, and he got it on the way out, I'm like, well, by the time they get down here, he's already gonna be
yeah,
to Bow,
yeah,
so.
yeah.
Okay, I just recall, about 3 years back, you had an interesting, discourse with a tree removal company.
Yes, yeah, they're the toughest. Then the excavation guy is the next thing.
Okay, well, I have nothing else for the
And the fence companies.
the meeting, the public portion of the meeting.
We have two non-publics.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we do a non-public for RSA 91 alpha, Roman 3, paragraph 2,